Sorry about that, my battery just went dead there. So we got halfway through this sum where we were multiplying by a 2-digit number, and we've recorded our answer for multiplying by the unit. So we did the multiplicand by 8, and now we need to go on to multiplying by our tens. So we're multiplying by 20 now. So we cover up the units and we do 0 2s are 0, 2 4s are 8, 2 5s are 10, 2 9s are 18 and 1 is 19, 2 8s are 16 and 1 is 17, 2 3s are 6 and 1 is 7. And we need to now record the answer to when we multiplied the multiplicand by the tens, by this 20. So the first thing, whenever they write their answers down in long multiplication like this, they need to make sure that the units are lined up and the tens, hundreds, thousands, etc. So the first thing we need to do is write down how many units we have. Now the children will be able to see that on the board, on the second row of the board, the first box is a tens box. There isn't a units box on this row. If there was one, it would be diagonally above this unit here, just about here. So there's no unit box on that level, and we have 0 units. So as they do lots of these, they'll realise that they're always going to have 0 units because there isn't even a units box on the board. So then the next column they need to record is the tens. So they look at the board and there are 0 tens. There are 8 hundreds, 0 thousands, 9 tens of thousands, 7 hundreds of thousands, and 7 millions. And then we need to slide the numbers along like we normally did, but we're going to do it step by step. So there's nothing to slide for the units. We have 0 units, which is basically here. We've done 0 add 0. Then we slide our tens over, except there's nothing to slide in this one. So we have just 2 tens. We can see that's 2 plus 0 makes our 2 tens. Then we slide our 8 along in from our hundreds box here, and we add those up. So we're doing 8 plus 3, which we can see here is our 3 plus 8 here. So we're adding these just like we were adding these 8 and 3. So 8 and 3 is 11. So I have a 1 in my hundreds and the other 1 in the thousands. I've carried it over, so I write that down. And they should already know how to do this kind of addition anyway from the other activities that they've been doing. So this part wouldn't be new to them, but they're putting the 1 down here and the other 1 in the next column. So sliding down the thousands, there's nothing to slide from the second row. And I have here 6 plus 1, which is this 6 here, plus the 1 that we've carried over. So 6 and 1 is 7. And I slide the 10,000s over, which makes 9 plus 1. They can see here that they've got the 9 plus 1 here, that makes 10. So I put my 1 over into the 100,000s column, so I write like that on here. So 1 in the hundreds, thousands, and 0 in the tens of thousands. Then I slide my 7 over from here, which was in the hundreds of thousands. I now have 7 plus 1 plus 1, which we can see here, 1 plus 7 plus 1. So that's 9. So I record my 9 there. And then I slide my last one along, 7 plus 3. They can see that here, 7 plus 3, which makes 10. Which goes into the 10 millions column. So the answer we have is 10,907,120, and we can see that with the beads along here, and then we can turn over to check 10,907,120. So that's to take them from the concrete of using the beads to the abstract of using paper, and it shows them where this 0 comes from. We've all learnt how to put this 0 here, but this shows them in a concrete way where that actually comes from. So at this point they then need lots and lots of practice of 2-digit multiplication. You can then go on to look at the 3-digit multiplication in the same way, where they're multiplying by a number that's got units, tens and hundreds in there as well. So your third row is going to have 2 zeros on, and they need to get then very confident with this. So they might do it in this way with using the board and paper a few times, and then be able to move on to just paper, and lots of practice with that. When your child has had plenty of practice at long multiplication, you'd probably have a break from this activity for a while, and then you might come back at another point in the future and present it to them in a new way. So we're moving on to card E, and we're looking at category multiplication this time. So you can say to the child that we know you've done this board before, and we're going to show you a new way to work with it. So we're going to do 32 times by 41. 32 times by 41. Now, in the past, we've always worked moving horizontally along the board, multiplying all of our multiplicand, however big it was, by the unit first of all, and then we covered up the tens so we could concentrate on the unit, and then we moved to the tens, covered up the unit so we could then work all the way along the tens column, and if we were multiplying by a 3-digit multiplier, we would then work on the hundreds column. So we would work horizontally across the board. Today we're going to do it differently. We're going to be working diagonally, and we're going to go through each category one at a time, and we're going to start with our units. So I'm going to do 1 times 2, which is 2. So that's the same as it was before, because we always start with this unit box here. But now, instead of working all the way across, I'm going to do the next category, which is the tens. So to get my tens answers, I need to multiply tens by units. So 3 times 1, that's 3. And then I also need to multiply this one here, which is units by tens. So that's 2 by 4, which is 8. So I've done my units, I've done my tens. My next category is hundreds. So I start with this box here, but as I'm only doing 2-digit by 2-digit, there's nothing to multiply here. So I can go straight onto this box where I'm multiplying tens by tens. And I now have 3 4s, which is 12. Once we've worked through horizontally, units, tens and hundreds, we can then slide along as we used to and make any swaps that we need to. So 8 and 3 is 11. Two and 1 is 3. And our answer is 1,312, and we can check on the back.